Agenda meeting and administrative workshop. Good morning, I'm Vice Mayor Reed. I will be filling in for Mayor Penny in his absence today. And we will start with an invocation by Commissioner McAleese, and followed up by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
Dear Lord, we gather here today as neighbors, friends, members of this community. Thank you for the gift of this day and the opportunity to come together in spirit and unity and with purpose. May our time together be guided by wisdom, kindness, and respect for one another. Bless our city, its leaders, workers, families, and all who call it home. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Carly, will you please call the roll?
Scheidinger.
Here.
McAleese.
Here.
Thompson. Here. Reed.
Here.
Penny.
That's mine. Sorry. Okay, this time we'll conduct an agenda meeting for the May 13th regular commission meeting, immediately followed by administrative workshop. So on the agenda, Carly, it's been a while since I've gone through this. You're going to have to refresh my memory. We just
Okay.
go down the agenda, right?
Yep, we just go from item to item.
Yeah, we'll have a public hearing. There will be no public hearing. There's no unfinished business. We have the consent agenda, which is the approval of the commission meetings for the month of April. We have new business, ordinance number 2025-01, an ordinance of the City of South Pasadena amending ordinance 2024-05, the city's 2024 fiscal budget by removing estimated proceeds totaling $1.28815 million for the sale of Fire Station Number 20 located at 911 Oleander Way, and by increasing certain general fund and capital improvement fund appropriations totaling $265,205 for public safety and hurricane recovery expenditures, which were approved in a commission workshop, providing for an effective date. First reading. Number 3, resolution number 2025, a resolution of the City of South Pasadena, Florida, repealing resolution 2020-03 and adopting the 2025 Pinellas Local Mitigation Strategy. 4, resolution number 2025-07, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of South Pasadena, Florida, amending the Employee Handbook, section 1 through 6, regarding the employment of relatives. 5, motion to approve interlocal agreement with the Pinellas County for multimodal impact fee coordination. And that is all we have. Is there any discussion on any of this? No. Okay, we all good? All right, we will adjourn this meeting and move downstairs. Call this administrative workshop meeting to order. If I could please get roll call.
Scheidinger.
Here.
McAleese.
Here.
Thompson. Here. Reed.
Here.
Penny.
All right, first discussion item, we have the adoption of the 2025 Pinellas County Local Mitigation Strategy. I figured that would be you.
That was me.
How are you today?
I'm well. How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Fantastic.
Good. Okay. So we sent you lots of information on the LMS, the Local Mitigation Strategy. Something we have to do, we do an annual update every year, and then every 5 years we do a big update. So this is the big update. So it's an all hazards planning document that identifies exposures to natural hazards, vulnerabilities due to those exposures, local capabilities and planning processes that address hazards, and potential funding and projects that can reduce the exposure or consequences from those hazards. It's a county-led group that gets together with input from all of the local governments in the county. So we all work together to put together this document so that we can increase, it's part of the Florida Department of Emergency Management requirements. In addition to that, we get credit through the community rating system for our community. So some of the updates that have been done in the introductions, they updated the county profile, the socioeconomic data, land use, and social vulnerability. There's an update. We updated the risk assessment introduction to include references to Pinellas County's sea level rise and storm surge vulnerability assessments funded through the Restore Act. In Section 2, the planning process and plan maintenance, there were updates to elements of the 10-step planning process, compliant for communities using the LMS for credit under the CRS system. Public information meetings were held. The first one was April 15th of 2024 at the Lealman Exchange Community Center, and the second was a virtual meeting on October 17th, 2024. There was an update to Section 3 in the mitigation strategy, revisions to goals and objectives based on facilitated planning sessions. Most changes were minor language revisions to emphasize collaborative approaches where applicable, reduce impacts to disproportionately affected populations, and the addition of objectives focused on better flood protection methods and education. Capability assessments updated for every community, including additional floodplain management criteria as part of the new federal planning requirements, and updated mitigation project lists. The risk assessment in Section 4, they updated the maps, tables, and assessments for all hazards, all natural hazards, and the hazards are listed there. And then there were updates to narratives and qualitative data associated with technological and human-caused hazards, and those hazards are listed. Section 5, potential funding sources, update of federal, state, and local funding sources that could be utilized in support of hazard mitigation projects. And then the appendices that were updated, the planning process documentation, which is new documentation for activities associated with the planning process to include meeting agendas, minutes, and outreach. Appendix B, which is floodplain management. There's a new appendix that summarizes floodplain management activities for each jurisdiction. The appendix was added to meet new plan requirements and serve as a complement to Section 3 mitigation strategy. Appendix C, CRS 610 flood warning, update to include the most recent procedures that are also within the county's comprehensive emergency management plan. Appendix D, mitigation initiatives, updated list of potential projects and completed projects list for hazard mitigation activity. Appendix E is the Florida Review Tool, the crosswork of required plan elements to their location and the plan for use by FDEM and FEMA staff reviewing the plan. Appendix F was plan adoption, inclusion of FDEM's approval pending adoption letter. And that'll be updated as each one of the local municipalities update their, or approve their, do their resolution, sorry. Appendix G is plan maintenance, inclusion of the most recent annual update provided to FDEM. Appendix H is the program for public information, and that's part of the CRS program as well. And then Appendix I is repetitive loss area analysis, which is inclusion of the county's most recent RLAA for credit under the CRS program as well. Appendix J, LMS procedures. This is a new appendix to help with orientation for new members and to guide participation in the LMS working group. Appendix K, vulnerability assessment. This is the new appendix to identify the many vulnerability assessment grants that local governments are going through via the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. It's a Resilient Florida program. Pinellas County and its municipalities have been awarded $118 million to date across 34 projects, with 16 of those being planning grants and 18 being implementation grants. Those grants focus on planning and implementation activity for future flooding, as opposed to the LMS, which has an all hazards planning focus. So those are the updates to this 5-year plan. I also included the approval letter from the Florida Department of Emergency Management. And again, that will be updated as each one of the municipalities adopt their resolution. Do you have any questions?
A whole bunch.
A whole bunch. Okay. Yes,
Is this all development or just commercial development?
this is everything.
This is everything, so anybody's building a house, everything, this will be,
This is more the hazards associated with those things.
okay?
So we work, Chief's also on the team, and we work on how those hazards affect different properties in different areas, and how, as a joint team, we work together to make it so that those hazards are minimized by planning.
Okay. So I saw in here, there's an administrative fee. I assume that comes to our organization? When I was reading through here, as the money is collected, there's some kind of an administrative fee? Well, we'll pass on that.
I was just saying, which document?
Okay. What is the cost of this gonna be to our neighbors? Okay, is this a percentage that's gonna be added on to the permitting? or-
No. This is
No.
there is no fees associated with this.
Okay, I
This
wasn't
is
clear on
something
that.
that we're
right.
all part of in order to get us extra credit through the Federal Emergency Management Agency Community Rating System program, which helps to discount your flood insurance.
Awesome.
It also allows us to apply for grants and things through the state.
Okay. So half of what's collected, and I don't completely understand this now that I asked that question, but it looked like half of what's collected
Sorry.
goes directly to the county and half goes into a trust?
That's the multimodal document that we're talking about. That's a different.
That is different.
That's next.
All
But that's
right.
on the
Okay.
agenda meeting.
You
All
would be
right.
the one to speak on that.
I may have gotten these two documents confused then.
Yeah, so
Okay.
the multimodal, I'll give you that one too.
Yep.
Multimodal is basically, there's a fee for, it's mostly commercial, new residential on a vacant lot, which we don't have a whole lot of, so that doesn't affect us a whole lot. It's, basically, we split the fee with the county, and it's a transportation-oriented fee. So basically, if you have a development there currently, and that development changes to something more transportation-oriented, there will be an increased cost.
Okay.
And that development multimodal impact fee goes into, basically, we collect that at the time that the permit is issued.
Yes.
And then the county, we send half to the county, half to us. Most of it's Pasadena Avenue, when they put in a new business.
Okay.
If the existing business was something that didn't draw a lot of traffic, and now the new one is gonna be 10 times more traffic. They do a traffic impact study, and there's a fee based in the county's code that we use to calculate that,
Okay,
and then we collect that at that time.
okay. And that goes into a trust? Do we already have that trust set up
Yeah,
for our city?
all that is
That's
already set
done.
up. We've been
Okay.
doing it for years.
It's an existing
It's an
process. They're
existing
just
process.
sort of modifying the back end of it.
Oh,
The
good.
paperwork and agreement side needed to be modified,
Okay,
so,
And that's something that came down from legislation.
yeah.
So
Okay.
that was a change that needed to
Yeah.
be made in the document that already exists.
good. Hopefully I'm back on track.
It's okay.
Impacted, there's 34 projects, 16 planning grants, 18 implemented. Have any of them impacted South Pasadena yet? Or are they all just county?
I'm trying to remember if the hardening of your building, those windows had anything to do with that back in the day prior to my time. The most recent was turned down last minute due to lack of historical damage documentation.
Okay,
But we do still have two current projects listed in the LMS, a generator for this facility and a generator for the public works maintenance building. And there's current discussion of submitting those through HMGP, Alini, to try to move forward with those.
awesome. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
This may be completely off topic, but in one of these two documents I was reading, it was about a Class 2 community getting very large discounts on their fee. How
That
far
would be
away are we
Pinellas
from
County.
that?
That would
It-
be very
that
difficult
will never
for us.
happen.
Never happened. That's
Never
what I
happened.
assumed that, but
So,
okay.
one of the requirements in order to get there is you have to have levees and dams.
Ah,
We have none.
Okay,
So we will never get to a 2.
okay.
Let's hope so.
Don't want to. All right.
There are some other big factors in there. I think the closest we could possibly get would be a 5.
Oh, all right,
We're currently at a Class 8,
okay.
and my 5-year update is May 8th. So I'm hopeful to get to a, do I say it out loud?
No, don't commit to anything. Unless you're fairly
My
sure.
goal is to get to a 6.
Within what kind of time frame? Now that you said it
My
out
goal
loud.
is to get to a 6 in
On this
May
review.
on this
Oh,
review.
oh.
Because you can only change your class every 5 years.
Okay,
My goal is a 6. I can almost guarantee I'll get a 7, but my goal is a 6.
okay,
It's been a little busy.
okay.
So we're working on that. So we should have a better class rating. I don't know how long it'll take them to do all the review and all that stuff after we get through this meeting this week. But
Okay.
that's my goal.
Okay.
So 5 would be a big challenge, but I think I can get 6.
Okay, awesome.
So
I think that's good for now. Thank
You're
you.
all good?
Yeah.
Any more questions?
No.
So what do we have, just consensus to go along with this, or is this just a review for us right now, because it's already on this agenda?
Right, this was just her
Okay.
walking you through.
All right, so
What all this
no
going
action
on.
required.
Nope,
Didn't
just
think
No,
so.
the
Okay.
in case
resolution
you
will
had
be.
questions, her presenting it to you.
Yeah, thank you. Nobody has any more questions? Then we'll go on to the 2025 Emergency Action Guide, which will be Chief.
It's on the agenda.
Like Terry said, we work on that together, so, she does the majority of the work. I tag along, so,
Don't say so, sure.
it's true. So we have, I cannot believe we are in May, so it is time for the update to the city's emergency action guide. I went ahead and presented a summary letter this year. So what changed in this year's document is title and dates, document updated to reflect 2025 calendar year and planning cycle. Climate preparedness enhancements. We added a heat wave response planning section outlining proactive measures for rising temperatures in vulnerable populations. EOC staffing structure. We added a new level of activation for our tertiary EOC. Tertiary, say that 3 times. So if you guys remember during Hurricane Milton, due to the early forecast of surge, which was anticipated to be even higher than Helene, we chose to bypass the secondary EOC, go to the tertiary EOC at St. Pete College Midtown. After that event, St. Pete College reached back out to us, and they would like more, I guess, accountability for those folks that are in there. They're willing to let us use it again, but there were way too many people for the size of that facility. There were people entering places that were told were off limits prior to the storm. It was a disaster, right? And things happen. So luckily, we were able to meet, send it for legal review. We still have a contract with them. They ask us to reduce our footprint should we need that. So if we were, and I'm going to back up a little bit, originally we thought the secondary EOC at Pasadena Community Church would be off limits for this season due to construction. However, construction has been delayed till at least October 1st. So for most of the season, we do have that opportunity. But should we need to go to the tertiary EOC, what we would do is scale back to just response personnel. Okay, everyone.
Is it St. Pete Beach and Treasure Island too at that location? So it's the same as it would be at the church, but they're asking everybody to scale back.
Same number of cities, but scale back the amount of personnel.
People, okay.
Correct, right?
Does that impact efforts to rescue, maintain, work the storm with the reduced load? Because, I mean, if you're at a tertiary, you're in a worse level situation.
Correct.
Yeah. So what we could see happening, and we would hope, our hope would be like a hybrid of a on-site and a virtual EOC. So in other words, city staff, who's normally part of the EOC, we would still be communicating as long as possible, cell phone, computer, whatever. So that would be the delay, is getting those information pieces to you, where normally you can, go to the person beside you, is, hey, can you send this out to the commission? So there'd be an extra step to do that. And then the response, the rest ready would, most of the staff would be doing that at their personal residences with a plan to return as soon as possible. Whereas normally we're at the EOC and we all return en masse at the same time. It would not affect our being, fire department's initial windshield survey and search and rescue activities. We would still do that as soon as possible, and then we would have to have, a communication plan for the return of our other staff, and then also a plan of if you don't hear from us due to communication being out, this is the time in the event where you would be expected to return and make face-to-face contact. It's worst case scenario, right? We looked at Helene. Helene was in a historic storm surge for us. Yeah. Looking back, it did not get wet at the secondary EOC, but we do know that there is a potential that we could set a new record, and someday there could be water in that facility. So we have to have a worst case plan. A lot of talk, because of course the fire station is our primary EOC. The problem with that location, even though it is hardened and high, if you stay there, you are trapping your response capabilities, and you don't want to do that. We ran 132 calls in 4 hours from that secondary EOC. We would have run 0, from this facility. So, they stacked. We received 132 calls. It's impossible to run that many. But point being, you have to do that evaluation as an incident communicator and start responding when possible. So that's where we would go ideally.
What's the cutback, though? I mean, you need the staff there, right? You need the firefighters, you need the guys from Public Works. I mean, how do you cut that back?
You have to if the only facility that is allowing you its use has requested that you do that through
But I mean, would
contract.
they be able to get back into the city if you needed them for anything?
Well, the plan would be we still have the parking lot at St. Pete College Seminole campus, so if Public Works needed to move stuff outside of the danger zone, but yeah, there would have to be coordination on how we get back. And that's not to say, even if everyone went to the tertiary EOC, what if the most damaged area is in that area and we're trapped there? You just don't know ahead of time. So you make the best plan you can to get everyone back. It's a disaster.
Because the communication, I mean, that can come down and then you're really in trouble.
Think about after Milton. It was tough, right? That's in the last 10 years. That's the most difficult I think we've had communicating on scene. We made it work, but it wasn't easy. So many lessons learned there. But just to give you guys, it is in the plan, and we would have to consider that. And do we even bring the whole fire department, or do we split? At that point too. So, meaning some folks go home rest ready, some people go to the EOC.
There is no way, I discussed that with you yesterday about the fire station needing just one paramedic.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Think of the liability of putting someone in an evacuation zone and say, you stay here in case someone didn't follow a mandatory evacuation order.
Yeah, I know.
That-
Yeah, I know.
We're not leaving anybody.
Yeah, we have a plan to make sure,
I
one,
know.
we're safe, and
Yeah.
then we can respond back.
Yeah.
I could potentially trap an individual there. And not only that, I would never, in any emergency situation, ask someone to work by themselves.
Yeah.
Minimum of 2 people for safety.
And I just thought about those people that stood on the outside of the fire station in the rain and they couldn't get in. Yeah.
And this is,
evacuated.
That's the
Right.
problem, is that we
That's
told
the-
everyone
I'm
to leave.
not-
that's the
tolerant
statement I
of
need.
that.
Yeah.
They should have evacuated. I mean, how many times did you tell people?
We run around with the
And
National
maybe after
Guard
this last
and
one,
told them to leave.
yeah, maybe
So-
after this last one that was so terrible,
Maybe they
people
will.
get the message.
Yeah.
And not stay in their house with 2 little babies
Yeah.
sitting on the kitchen counter.
I know.
And they couldn't open the doors because the water was so high.
Yeah.
So I mean, come on.
And we will start next week with our hurricane preparedness presentations again. We're going to host 2 of them at Station 20 in May. Those will be recorded. They'll be broadcast live and recorded. So we'll send them out. Everyone's going to get that message pre-storm. And then we're hosting one. Also, we've been asked to do Pacifica Cove? What's the condo? Pasadena Cove. Yes, thank you.
I was trying to see what they
yeah.
see a go.
There's a lot going on up here.
Yeah.
So, you know, and anyone else who wants one, business or residential community, we want to get out there and get that message out ahead of time. But, you know, once again, and that's why we do this ahead of time, right? The plan is now's the time to make those plans. Don't wait till October, you know, September. That's not the time. The other thing is graphics were updated when possible. We didn't have to, but we chose to remove the terrorism threat briefing that was in there each year. They stopped doing that, so we're not going to put older information out there for you. And then we reinforce annual review requirements, coordination responsibility, and alignment with the Pinellas County Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan. We work per state statute under a county, EM system. So want to make sure that we're doing things that march out with the county plan. So when we need resources and things like that. And then I put at the end, if anyone would like, if you'd like to attend any of our presentations, they're on the city website. Kelly, do you know how many signups we have so far? Okay, so there is room. You guys are more than welcome. And then we always do a Q&A session at the end. It does get pretty lively sometimes. Any questions on the update of the guide?
I don't have anything. Anybody else?
Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything? All right. Hearing nothing, we are adjourned.
Oh, I wanted to show you this work after the show.
And I'm a sinner. I play my music in the sun.